Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Brought to you by ERT Radio. If you missed it last week, you're going to get to see it again, our new little promo for him. So, tonight, we are talking all things high strangeness with Cisco Murdoch. She is just, the whole, I don't know what the term is, if it's just a jack of all trades type thing. Bartender, floral designer, sculptor, jewelry designer, craftologist, empath sensitive. She's the producer host of Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal podcast. The fact that I got through with all that without screwing it up was amazing. Yes, there's a little gold star for me there. Got a few of the people here from there, from that show, watching here. Welcome everybody. Glad you guys are checking us out. Hope you enjoy it. She is, resides near Jersey Shore. I don't know if she takes any credit for her fellow Jersey Shore people that hit up MTV. Hopefully she's distanced herself, because I don't see that her hanging out with in that same circle. So, but she's got several fur babies at the house, along with one Casper. So we'll have to see about getting some stories about that. So she was introduced to us through Brian. So appreciate that. So we're really looking forward to it. So everybody, high strangeness. We're going to be talking all those things. So just sit back, enjoy, bring your questions. We're going to get this thing going here. And that is right after this. Right now. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name's Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is white. Justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, guys, what's happening?
What's up? Too much. Need a break from life for a while.
Yeah. You got unplugged, sir.
No, it's so hard to unplug with what's going on. So a lot of people affected. And so that's where we are at this point. But let's see some of the gatekeepers in with the beards. The barbers.
Yeah, I appreciate. I said Cisco's bringing the following over there. Appreciate everybody joining in. It's like we got a couple. We got to need to get a few people, on our end too. That'll be. So hey, I'm glad everybody's enjoying the intro. I said we made that kind of a way of kind of a nod, for Ron being the sponsor here. Because all I was doing, I was holding up a sticker, and I'm like, this does not work all the time. We got to come up with a better option. And so that seems to work pretty good. So as soon as we decide we want to become a big program, we might end up with a producer, that'll be able to do all that stuff for me and stuff, me fumbling with everything. So Cisco, if you haven't heard, if you look, I'm looking away from the camera doing stuff, I'm listening. I'm also doing everything, chatting, getting up links and doing all that stuff. So as I said, I'm taking notes all the time. So that's a little nod here if you don't know that. So welcome, everybody. Let's see. We got Grey Wolf Paranormal. Lindsay there, Dimensional Horse, Ted Branston, King, D-Rock, M.A.
Lulu.
Allen, Erlin, Lulu Bell. We got Sir Brian in the chat. He's also on the screen. We got, I say, hopefully I haven't missed anybody here. So real quick, so we'll just get that going. So like I said, we are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m.-ish. Tonight has actually, I think it's like 8:02 or 8:03, so a little early.
We're pretty consistent. Oh, we're also on a new platform called Odyssey. Go follow us on Odyssey. It's like a YouTube. I'm still working out the bugs. I don't know if we're going to be live on there tonight or we're just going to upload there. But
I don't know.
Go check us out on Odyssey. I posted the link.
We're talking about a couple different platforms, right? So
all right, here we go.
Codes, right?
We're going to bring her out of the green room here.
There she is.
In this case,
on my way out.
Dark, spooky room with skulls. I love it.
This is my abode, my humble abode. Thank you for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, pleasure.
Brian,
thanks for coming
always,
on.
my brother.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, here we are. Spooky season, baby. I'm ready to roll.
So, man, what I was just looking at, like I was just reading that stuff, like floral arrangements too. It's like, do you do
funeral arrangements or just normal floral arrangements?
All floral. Weddings and event is my specialty, but you got to do the centerpieces and the bud vases and the dozen roses too. You know what I mean? Been doing it a long time. My mom was a floral designer, and at that time, I wound up being an only child. That kind of plays into a couple of the stories I have as far as ghosts, but it was her and I by ourselves for a while, and I used to go with her everywhere she went. She went to decorate houses and windows and, in kind of a big place called Asbury Park, New Jersey. That was like the place to be in the late 60s and early 70s. And, I learned from her. And, you work a lot of jobs. Anything, creative is very common with people who are sensitive or light workers or anything like that, because it keeps you grounded even while you're doing something. When you're being creative, keeps the lights on.
Now, have you, especially with you being into ghosts and stuff too, how cool would it be if you ever got the chance to, that rich person dies and then you get to go make the floral arrangement out of their arboretum in their house. So as you're making the floral arrangement, Bob's sitting there, making sure that you stay away from his favorite orchid. So every time you go to snip it for his arrangement, the shears just go flying out of your hands.
Yeah. I mean, oh man, that'd be great. Well, I'd still do it. We'd laugh. We'd have a good time. Tell him, chill out. We're going to make this nice and, do him proud. And then, what happens after that's up to him and what the kind of person he's been, that's just the way.
Straight out of Beetlejuice. You're sitting here trying to mess with his favorite thing.
It would be gorgeous. It would be gorgeous. I promise you.
Hey, look, a baby wolf.
you got to be able to do that. I'm finding out in time that a lot of like I said, sensitive empaths, mediums, all that, they all have something, but it doesn't work for long in a lot of cases. So you have to be able to jump from one thing to another. So there's really eclectic people, those people that are very eccentric in a way and artsy and all that. It all kind of goes into the same bowl, it's just how you mix it.
I think
so why do you think that is? Why do you think it dissipates over time?
I don't know. It just seems to be, looking back over all the time I've been trying to pay attention to this subject, which is, I don't know, going on way past 50 years now. It's, you sit back and you think, gosh, I've been involved in looking into something for 50 years. Well, is she an expert? Hell no, I'm not. Nobody is in this. Nobody is in this. Because the thing is you can be very well versed, and this is, again, just my opinion, but you could be very well versed in a subject, but it keeps changing. It morphs. There's another layer. You think you've got it, and then you peel back 2 more layers. You go, oh, okay, it was that and more. It was this and more. And so to say, somebody came up and said, I'm a paranormal expert. Like you see all those little taglines on a lot of these shows. They'll have that person.
Yeah, the expert.
I know a lot of those people. And they're just as down to earth as you and I. And if they had the choice, they wouldn't have put that under their name. That wasn't up to them. You know what I mean? That's the producers doing it. That's the people doing the editing. So you can't blame them, but they'll tell you the same thing. It's just too much going on. You know, you get, the more you step back and get further away from it, get that 40,000 foot view, you really kind of start getting it. And I think that's probably my quest, I guess, if you want to call it that, started when I started having experiences and you couldn't really talk to people about it. So you're trying to sort what it is and you're seeking knowledge. Well, in that point in time, you're talking about the 60s. You're talking about the early 70s. You know, you had encyclopedias and libraries.
Yeah.
This is what you had.
But
you were barely on the cusp of that, Chris.
no. I was born 85.
No, you didn't
So-
even study in school. So like I said,
I did, but
So-
my school wasn't that great. But when we had to do a project, we had to go dig through a book and we're looking at something with A and go find the A encyclopedia and everything you needed was inside this book.
Right.
Now you needed something in D. Now you got to go find it in D.
And a
Nah,
Dewey
I'm good.
Decimal System. I mean, Katie
Yeah.
Turner will tell you, I bet you anything she agrees with me because you learn something every day. And as soon as,
Yes.
especially if you're getting messages from spirit, you know, again, I'm kind of jumping around, but it really all means the same thing. I find that people keep trying to put ghosts in a file cabinet. Here's a file. This is what ghosts can and can't do. You know, this is where we're all, you know, sometimes they're see-through, sometimes they're not. You know, you'll have all those little things in there. And then you find out something that blows that right out of the water and you go, oh, I got to expand that file because there's more to it. And then you start realizing, oh, wait a minute, not all ghosts. Wait a minute. There's individuals as you and I are. They have similarities just like we do, you know, but at a certain point, the differences start showing up, you know, and that's the way I have learned that ghosts can be as well. And I would bet you that Katie will tell you that not every spirit comes in the same way. Some like to use visual pictures. It's what they can do and what they've learned, for lack of a better word, that they can do and how to use it. And, very similar to the movie Ghost. If anybody's ever seen that, how long it took that character to be able to move that penny up that wall, you know, because maybe he was concentrating too much, or maybe he was doing something else where maybe he was just making it harder than it was. And when he just let go and let it be, there it was. And that's the way the paranormal has been to me.
it was like Beetlejuice, you know, how much they read of the handbook. You know, if they only scammed a few of the pages, you know, they didn't know. It's like, oh, I could do this. It's all of a sudden
and two, does it go off of your personality, your energy, your vibration? You know, what frequency are you on? You know what I mean? Where are you coming through? I can give you a perfect example if you like. Would you like to give this a whirl? It's not my story. It's a retelling. Okay. So I just showed this last night on my show. And I call it a great test case for paranormal investigators or people interested in the paranormal. Okay. There's a young man. His name is Ryan. Okay. He's about 23, 25-ish. I believe he just had a life-changing experience, like going through a divorce, a breakup, something along those lines that made him have to go seek new shelter. So he got a condo. So now it's a new condo. He's living by himself and things start to happen around the condo. At first it's light flickering, or it might be the ceiling fan starts to move on its own. Maybe the blinds ripple, something, little things, you know, just little, maybe a knock here, you know, a move there, maybe can't find his keys. And then there they are again. You know, it's a little app porting going on, just little stuff. Well, as it progresses, he starts talking to it, go, hey, was that you? And it'll like flick, the light will flick on again. He has no idea what or who he's talking to. Okay. He's just accepting it. It's kind of a nice distraction for him after what he's gone through. So keep in mind, I said he was going through that life-changing thing. So where's his energy? Where's his vibration at the time? That's going to show important. Okay. So now this starts to escalate little at a time. And whatever's doing this is kind of showing off a little bit more. So you might get that. I believe he had like a face coming out of the wallpaper, like the wall, almost like the wall was breathing, but you could see a figure in there and a face and hands. He'd kind of laugh and go, okay, that's different. Was that you? And then he'd get the light flick. So the more he's communicating with this thing, the more it's doing. Okay. So we've learned that they gather energy from us, usually from fear, but it doesn't have to be fear. It's just a quicker jolt of energy, I believe, for them. And it starts really escalating. Now he comes home, turns on the light, and he starts to hear this popping sound, almost like he said popping. It sounded like crackling to me, but I'm going to use the word he used, popping, because it might have been different. Okay. He starts to see a sparkle, like just in the middle of the room, there's like this light, and the light is kind of sparkling and kind of gathering together. And, there's all kind of energy coming from it, and he describes it as lights. At that point in time, he's still extremely curious, and he reaches in to touch it. And he said at that point in time, he felt it said it was like it was cold, but he felt like a static electricity. And he was like, wow, that was cool. And then it went away. Well, now he feels like it's following him in his car when he goes to work, and it's starting to keep him up at night. And he starts to get more aggressive things happening, like it's maybe holding him down in his sleep and waking him up, or it's starting to be a bothersome thing now. We're starting to get more aggressive with how it's showing itself, to the point where he moved out. Okay. He got a job in another state. He went there. It followed him. He left that new place, wound up couch surfing for a while. Finally, he pitched a tent in the woods to get away from this thing. He at one point rented a hotel room, and he believes that this thing caused a fire in the air conditioning and the window, which is why he fled and went to the woods. Now he's getting bothered in the woods. He's having things fly at him, like the knives he used at his barbecue, and different things. It's starting to get more destructive and angry, and he just can't take it anymore. Finally, this goes on for about 3 years, and towards the end of the case, he finally just really meant it, stood up and said, look, you have ruined my life. I can't get sleep. I can't work. He just laid it all out and said, I want you to leave me alone. I want you to go. And that's it. And it stopped. It backed off. And when it came back, kind of like a little scolded kid, he could see the apparition. He could see through it, but he could see enough to see that it was a little old man. Now, you would have said it was a demon, or you might have thought it was evil, or you may have guessed that it was something bad that never been human, or just a really pissed off ghost. This was a little old man who was confused and angry because he was frustrated, and he felt like somebody was, I guess, starting to see him and communicate, but he couldn't express what he needed. And when he saw this old man come to him the way he did, he felt sorry for him, starts putting out that love light towards him. It's like, you're just an old dude trying to, find your way. I'm so sorry. This is how he starts talking to him with compassion, which is wild after all this, that somebody could find that. That's a miracle in itself right there. But he's talking to this guy, and the guy's responding and shaking his head and listening to him. And finally, over a couple of days, popping in and out, he finally convinced that old man to cross over into the light and forgive himself for the things he had done. Now, what he did, I don't know. He didn't share. But he finally, with compassion and love, set that guy into the light. That's a cool case.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of times. I mean, I always joke about it, like several of the shows where it's just a lot of people instantly say, "What's a demon? It's demonic activity." I'm like, it's most likely Myrtle is just pissed off that you keep moving her china, and she doesn't like it that way in the kitchen, and that's why the cupboards are slamming. It has nothing to do with the spawn of Satan. It has everything to do with there's a little pissed off grandma she always gets after the grandkids, and now she's trying to get after you for touching her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah. It's just, I think there's just too many people that look at it, just especially in
I
these
think
things.
They're misunderstood in a lot of ways. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that there's nothing dangerous, because there can be. I would never say that. But the thing is what that case proves. Look how long it took for him to sort it. He was involved. He was like, I want to say over 2 years, almost 3. And if you just went in there and you only had a couple hours to spend a night, pull out all the equipment and everything, how are you going to sort that out? And again, I'm not knocking Paranormal Investigation. I've been on many of them, but it's kind of like a bunch of musicians who never met each other, all like different music and all have different timing and everything else, and haven't discussed anything, and just get up there and try to play together and all do their own thing, only thinking about themselves. When you communicate with your group, your band, and you pick a song and you go and you work it out that way, sometimes you can make some beautiful music. And that's the way a lot of these investigations should think, and a lot of them are, and a lot of them do. I know a lot of them out there, and they're all starting to get to that point now where they're all inclusive. The sensitives, the feelings, let's bring the feelings back, let's bring the intuition back, let's bring all that and work it together. Whereas I think we kind of got away from that when we started with the ghost hunter shows, where they were just trying to get evidence.
Yep.
And they took on feeling out, not the feeling out, but we're not going to bring a medium through here. We're not going to ask a psychic what they think, which is such a valuable tool. Not only
now with that psychic there too. That's when I brought it up when we had the Greater Boston Paranormal Associates on, and I've talked to a few other people. Why more people don't incorporate forensic artists?
Yeah,
because because it's just because I'm thinking. I mean, have you guys done that in some of your investigations? Because that's the one where we always know that there's some guy that's haunting this place. It's always something like, well, who is it? Well, I don't know. Well, why not bring the person in that's the psychic, the medium, whoever that could see this, and then they could start telling the artist right there, draw this, and then before long, we have a portrait of what the guy looks like, and then people can easily look back like, oh my God, I always use Bob. That's Bob Jerkins. I know that dude. That was the old.
It's fabulous. And there's a lot of mediums who do that, honey. There's a lot of mediums. Rob Guttrow, he draws as what he gets. So many people, because again, it's that extension. If you've ever heard of a lot of them, I know several of them will sit there with a pad and just doodle like this, because they can concentrate better. I can't explain because I don't do that, but it helps them concentrate better. And when I learned that about certain medium friends of mine, when they tried to tell me, well, your son is doodling all the time, and I said, he's just listening to you. He's not being disrespectful. That's how he keeps his energy in check, so he can absolutely listen to every word that you're saying and remember it. So don't stop him from doing that. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make too, because it just depends on where you're coming from.
There's a lot of
people in the chat have heard about that, but it's true.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who use law enforcement. There's a bunch of law enforcement teams that investigate this stuff on a different angle of it. But we have a couple people on the team I was on, law enforcement, corrections officer. It does help you in certain situations when
deductive
you're
reasoning.
Well, that, and if you get, the police car that rolls up, what are you guys doing there? And I see it's an off-duty police officer. They kind of give you a little bit more leeway, but it's not that easy to get a forensic artist. Most people, I think, that are really truly gifted and are in this field, and just like Cisco said, they have an artistic ability about them. And if you're really seeing something, like I did a remote view, thank you, Cisco, for sending her my way. And it was, I saw exactly what this thing looked like, and I was trying to draw it. Actually, I was going online to try to find it. She actually found something pretty close to what I was seeing facial wise. And she used it as the banner for the show. But it's difficult.
So weird too, Bri, because when you told me that, you didn't tell me you were trying to draw it, but I said, I told AI, I know this sounds weird, and I'm just learning all the little where you can use AI to help do episode art and stuff like that. And they can't get hands right and stuff like that. Sometimes things look really weird.
17 fingers.
Yeah. But I said the name of this person, and I said, draw what's in her house. And it did. And I got 3. And then I showed him to Brian. He went, yup, that one. I went,
Yeah, I mean, it
"Whoa,
was more that one.
whoa."
Actually, I just got a recent video. I sent it to her that I saw, and this is exactly what I'm
Mm.
seeing. And it's an elemental
so
woodland
weird.
creature. Although there was somebody in this chat that's saying more of it's a bogart or bogger, if you want to call it.
Mhm.
But I just know it as an elemental creature, the forest. And I sent her the video, and she's like, okay, just to give her an idea.
Mm.
But yeah, that's a good idea though, with the forensic artist, Craig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just, well, I mean, obviously, and not everybody's going to be able to get, the guy from the precinct to come over there and do it. But it's like, even if you just get somebody that somebody that's on the team
Like Amy
that's
Allen
really,
does.
like
Like,
really,
did you? Is this what you saw? Yes, it is.
yeah. And so that way, when even if it's not perfect, you've got somebody that's saying, okay, we've got big bushy eyebrows. It's like pointing nose. They just go through these things. Because I see a lot of people, it's like, oh, I could see him. But that's it. They can't. There's no description, and that's where I was brought it up to him. I'm like, have you guys thought about ever doing this? Because this seems like because that's the whole point of this thing. It's not just the because I don't like the ones that are like make a noise and all of a sudden they go running off screaming. I'm like, you asked it to interact with you. I go, why are you afraid?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it just hit you in the head with a 2x4.
Can you
when you
imagine
told it to
being
make
the ghost? Can you imagine being the ghost? See, that's what I do. I try to go from the vantage point of
Being the ghost.
the ghost, and what are they seeing? You can't assume that they see you as you're standing there. And although I love the whole art thing and it's used in this genre a lot and it can be extremely helpful, you got to throw in one of those curveballs and those peel back that layer again. What do you see?
Mhm.
Well, then you've got the ghosts who can manifest and appear in different ways to you. I was actually involved in a case where I don't know how it did it. And that's one of the questions I'll always have when I get over there. It's like, tell me how. Everybody's got all these questions, I think, when they get to the other side. I want to know this is the. My first question is how does a ghost manifest at the same time to 3 different mediums in 3 different ways? Because then you go outside and you meet and you go, well, I saw this. I'm getting the same feeling from it. I'm drawing the
Maybe
same
it's different
vibe.
periods in time. Maybe
It's
different
insane, but
periods.
it can happen.
The
So-
problem, one of the problems that I shared it with you, Craig, of having a sketch artist in there. We did this one time, and there's a couple of pictures of me that look very similar to the left and the right on this. So I haven't been to Golden State, nor am I a killer, but that's pretty scary when you can see sketches of you like, oh my God, that's,
Yeah.
that's where it gets really, really weird. Because then again, like you were talking about, like just Cisco is just talking about right now, what time period? Like the middle one looks like it's Robin Williams, right?
It does.
Younger Robin Williams. But, I mean, that
Right,
could,
right.
one person psychic could see them at age 20. The other ones could see them as 12. It's still the same individual. So that's the crazy part. I'll stop sharing.
But what
Yeah,
if
yeah,
the
no.
ghost? But what if the ghosts? I always had a question. What if the ghosts see us as ghosts because they forgot what
Like in
humans
the
look
universe?
like in their afterlife? They think we're the ghosts, so they come in and they're more scared of us than we are of them. They're like, "Oh, those are ghosts. They're coming to get us."
In
But
my
really-
humble opinion, I think that happens more than you know, my friend. If you ever saw the movie The Others, she was Nicole Kidman was making me crazy with the keys. But that's the whole vantage point you get from that. It's like you don't realize she's seeing, spoiler alert, she's seeing her husband trying to come back and get her. And, you can ask anybody that's ever been on a case or a medium or psychic, whatever label. People with abilities will tell you that this happens all the time. Very common case where you see, just say, here's one. Old man, he keeps showing up at the table just like he did every morning, having his coffee, reading the paper, doing this stuff. And his wife, who has crossed over, keeps trying to come back to get his attention and say, come on over. But he's not in that place. He is in his own vibration. He's in his own frequency. He's seeing what he wants to manifest to see. And he's just not in that plane yet. So it has been my experience that once you get them out of that depression or anxiety or whatever they're going through, like the old man, what changed the old man? Compassion, love. This guy was genuinely felt for him when he saw how sad he was, hanging his head down, coming at him like a little scolded kid. And he was just amazed, but his first reaction was to be compassionate, show him care. And that's what the group had to do. They had to get that man, let him speak his piece, let him get out what he needed to get out, and then remind him of his connection. Look up to that cord, that connection to your light, you know, and the love. And nothing does it quicker than love. Nothing does it quicker.
Love is the best.
And the minute he changed, he could see her and his whole face. You see what I mean? So if you're wondering what they see, it's at the time, it's what they want to see. You can have two ghosts in the same room and not know the other one exists. Or they can all be aware of each other. There's no set. That file gets wider and wider, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of those.
Katie put posted on a comment, and she said my favorite is when they morph into other things.
Yes, exactly.
And that blows your mind, because then you start thinking, okay, am I dealing with an actual, spirit, human spirit? Am I dealing with some kind of metaphysical elemental? Am I dealing with, there's so many different things that can do, they can change their appearance that are not good, and you just don't know what they are. And human earthbounds can do it too. You know, it's what they've learned. Like I said, it's what they've learned. So I mean, you've heard countless cases, whatever shows, throughout the decades that have been on, you'll hear them. Well, she appears as, you'll see them as shadows on the wall, or you'll see them as this. It's just how they're appearing. Like the very erratic ones. Ask anybody who's ever been to a battlefield. There's now, what are you dealing with? Who are you talking to? And what frame of mind and frequency are they on? Because look at how they died in battle, and then you've got everything else going on. What flavor are they? You know what I'm saying? Are you, full of anxiety? Are you still in the fight? Do you see that you're still in this fight? Do you see people coming at you? Are you just you're just standing here in this field, and what you see is the day you were standing in that field, and you don't really see anything else going on. You just see what's around you, and you're not leaving that until you're properly relieved as a soldier. And you've been standing there for 160 some odd years, like in Gettysburg or whatever. And then you've got the ones who are, of course, you've got all your different types. You've got your residual they've crossed over. This is just an essence of the human being that was there, and it's replaying in time, like your stone tape theory, like your, that time slip that might show, very much like, who's the brothers that saw the regiment in Gettysburg? They had a paranormal show, kind of looked alike. I can't remember the name. Chat, if you could help me out. I'm terrible with names, but they got started because on a trip to Gettysburg, when they were younger, he looked out the car, they're just driving through, and he looks out the car window and he sees this regiment. He goes, man, I want to get a picture of this. And he gets out of the car, your dad stops the car, he gets out, he takes a video of this phantom regiment. He didn't know it was phantom until he realized they just disappeared. That's what that got them started. That's the one thing.
Yeah,
Gettysburg
it can take one
is
thing.
That kind of place. They don't do reenactments. I think like maybe once.
You'll know when there are one. Yeah,
they'll make a public announcement to that. But if you see a reenactment soldier in Gettysburg, you're seeing a ghost.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
I think that one is residual, though. I think that one is residual. But I don't know, because here's the deal, Bri. If you walk up and just one guy looks at you, it's no longer residual. Now you've got something, because you've got intelligent interaction.
I'll give them a little bit of a plug. Ghost Adventures had that same thing. They did an episode where they're out there and stuff, and they could hear in the faint sound of, I think it was gunfire and cannon fire.
Yeah, you can.
And they even saw on that, I want to say it was infrared, where they actually saw something, like the heat register, and they actually saw something where it was like a bluish colored image, and it looked like the period, troop sitting out there in the field.
So something totally crazy. Sis goes in the front. Her son's in the back. I'm in my car. We're driving through Gettysburg Sunset. We get up to, I forgot what the house was. And there's a rock wall in the house. And let me tell you something, when you look to the left, the stalks of wheat are bending because there's air flowing, right? Both sides. I play the Battle Hymn of the Republic with the door open. And automatic in my head, it just appeared. I saw soldiers peeking up, like, who's playing that? And then what happened? That cat, a black cat.
That wheat was moving, and it's the only wheat that was moving in the whole thing. The cat
on the left side, not the right side, and then a cat came, right?
Yeah.
And
just looking at you, how they have like a stone wall, and it just seems like it goes forever, and it's a little broke up here, a little there. I'm looking at this stone wall, and all of a sudden I see this black cat appear, and I didn't take my eyes off and ask myself, I said, "You see that cat, right?" He said, "Yeah, I see it." Yep. And then we're looking, I go, "Bri," and then it's gone. And it's not like it jumped into a hole or a crack in the. It didn't do that. It was just gone. So
it disappeared.
It just disappeared.
It's disappeared.
I can't tell you.
It's the weirdest thing because it appeared. I'm playing the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which is a great version, Khalid. Battle Hymn of the Republic. It's an amazing
Beautiful.
thing to play at Gettysburg, right? And I'm getting this vibe like there are soldiers on my left, and I swear to God, I felt like I saw them, like they're peeking their head up, like what's going on.
Katie.
And then on the right side, the wheat or whatever it is, the grass on my left is blowing, is bending, and the grass that's right next to us on the right is still. Okay, the cat comes up. And it comes up, it turns around and sits there, and it literally is staring right at us. Like everybody's listening to that song.
Right. But at first, now it came up when we stopped the car, and you were still trying to pull up the song. It disappeared when you played the song. Now my son was in the back, and he said, "I got a feeling it showed up just to see what we were up to." This is he called it a watcher. And I'm like, absolutely positive. I mean, could have been, it's possible. Anything is possible. Like Katie here said, it's like maybe you changed the vibration when you played the song and you slipped into a time thing. That's possible too. Is the regimen all residual, or is it like the elevator story at Gettysburg College? You see, is one person manifesting the whole thing, or is it just something replaying on tape? Like you'll stand there and hear horses run by you. You'll hear them breathing. I'll
be in the car hiding. Y'all can come get me out the car when all this stuff stops.
I got to be honest. I've always wanted to go to Gettysburg. I went there a couple of years ago, brought the kids. We went up to, it's just a place you have to go. There's something spiritual about that place. Right. I can't put my finger on it.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm still on the cat disappearing. So the cat
just disappeared. And I can't say, did I blink? Sure, I blinked. You know, I mean, did it, was there something that blew in front of it? No. I mean, it's like we sat there, we picked it apart. I'm like, well, we're in Gettysburg,
Yeah.
And I can't, one way or the other, I can't swear. I know what I saw, but,
we know you're gonna have something happening there. I mean, you can't have that many people die in one location.
Well, I found out, and you can get Katie's input on this one too, that what I found was there's a mix, like I was saying, there's a mix. So you'll have some highly intelligent ones that are just staying there because they don't want to leave their brothers behind, or they feel responsible for this one over here, like trying to get her husband to listen. They're doing that. Come on, or there's everything you can imagine is happening all at the same time. Things, unexplainable things like a Devil's Den reenactment happens. And this, again, not my story, but it happened. So many things, like a lady goes to help bring home extras when they were doing the movie Gettysburg. So many reenactors volunteered for that, so they could pull that movie off. And that was amazing. But she was taking a few home. She volunteered. She had a pickup. She's got a bunch of them riding in the back of the pickup. and she drops the guys off wherever their cars were parked or whatever. And she thinks everybody got out, and she's driving down the road, gets a mile or two down there, and she looks in the rearview mirror and sees a couple of soldiers still sitting in the back. So she's like, oh my gosh, you know, did I miss a stop? What happened? They didn't get out. I don't understand. She stops the truck, gets out, nobody's there. Well, they just rode along for the ride, you know.
They thought it was a unit, right?
Right. Just going along with the ride. But what about the one bride where he's a devil's den and he asked somebody for the packs, you know, for the gunpowder? Because they're doing, you know, of course there's blanks, but he's out and he says, hey, you got a couple of them. I forget what they called them. They got a little name.
I think they call powder caps.
Remember. Yeah,
Like
it's something that they had a little
powder cap.
nickname for him, but I can't remember what he said, but he used the word. And the guy next to him says, here, I got a couple, and hands them to him. And then he goes, hey, man, I really appreciate it. Go on.
Hands them physical.
He had them.
Physical stuff.
Yes, physical stuff. This has happened with tobacco, and it happened with those. And he took them and had them to a museum and he said, yeah, that's period stuff. Now, how did they apport that from the spiritual world into this guy's hand? And it's actually still incredible.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to go back to the best medium in the planet, one of them. Because there's no such thing in time. It just maybe that the veil is thinner at Gettysburg. And so whatever is physical in one realm can be physical in another realm and still transfer.
Possible, man. And I think they're aware of so much too, because when you've got that many, what do they have? 14 different ghost tours. And that whole place is a battlefield, because you had a small little town of Gettysburg, 2,000-ish population at the time, and within like a day and a half, 158,000 troops, you know, emerged on this town. So I mean, it's everywhere. You know, that whole place is a battlefield. So
that's just Gettysburg.
So much.
Another thing that which is really bizarre, because I remember seeing it. I was kind of like, what the F? Because I was I was working in Manhattan at the time. And I went over for my lunch, and I went over to the National Geographic exhibit, and I walked in and I paid money during the day, which was on 44th and 45th Street in Times Square. And I go in and I see the Titanic exhibit.
I've seen it.
Going through. You've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it in Gatlinburg.
Did you ever see any period people costumes?
No.
I did. They weren't period. They were ghosts of the Titanic. There was a gentleman walking with a cane, distinguished. He tipped his hat to the side like you would, you know. And I said, hello. And he walked past me, and something just didn't feel right. He was totally out of place. And I looked around. I'm like, there's no period actors here. And she'll tell you, there's tons of stories about this taking place all over.
Yeah, Steve Stockton and I dropped an iceberg on one of them, but that's a show for another night.
Yeah, that was. You know,
I'm serious. It's crazy, but it happened.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your high strangeness, right? That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, we were just talking about it on the podcast. Steve Stockton and I do a podcast on Monday night and talk about just about anything. But we were actually doing a thing on the Titanic, and we were talking about the exhibits. And he used to live in Las Vegas, and I believe there was one there and one in Florida. Was it, right, at the time?
We've got one in Orlando, off of I Drive.
Yeah, somewhere right. Yeah.
Did you just smack yourself in the head?
He did. I saw him do it.
I'm like turned away, and all of a sudden I just see this. I'm like going.
I thought it was a ghost. Something was tickling my hair, and I'm like, "What is that?"
And so your first instinct was to punch yourself out.
His great grandmother came in and smacked him, like, you know.
I mean, next time have a V8, man. Come on.
Something touched me. Yeah, so we were just talking about it, and at the exact time, and I mean exact time, because we went back and looked as close as we could get it to the minute when, right after the 911 was called. As we're talking about that exhibit, an iceberg fell and sent 4 people to the hospital. Now, the weird thing is I usually pick those Monday things like day of. you know, and I'll message Steve and go, hey, Steve, we're going to talk about this tonight, yada, yada. When I got off the show, well, that morning I was taking a shower and I said, okay, we're doing Titanic. For some reason, we're doing Titanic. And I just went at it. And Steve said, great. So that night we get off the show. Now, my oldest son, I've always thought was reincarnated from the Titanic. And here's why. At 5, 6, he's talking about it. He's bringing them to me. He's describing to me, before I ever got him any books out of the library, dishes that had a certain pattern to them. And at one time he said to me when he was like about 6, White Star Line. He said White Star. He called it something, but a White Star something. I can't remember how he pronounced it, but it wasn't quite line. And it didn't sit with me until I was driving and I went, wait a minute, what? You know, he says it's on everything. Where is it? And I'm like, I don't have anything that says White Star, whatever it was, the word he used. But little things like that, you know, and water and the drowning and all that kind of stuff, you know. And he was the one. If there's ever a reincarnation story with this kid, I mean, the way he described things was incredible. And then he still has an interest in it, but he kind of put it to rest. You know, he was kind of chill with it at about teenage years. You know,
I'm just blown away that we've now had 2 people on the show that their sons are having memories from the Titanic. Susan Messino,
I mean distinct.
That's Susan Messino. She was the one that introduced in Wisconsin AC/DC. She's a journalist, and her son vividly remembers the boiler room.
Wow. Yeah.
So when they went on the tour, like you said, he knew exactly what it was. He knew stuff all about it. He knew all this. And so she is convinced that he actually used to be in the one of the people that worked in the belly of the ship.
Yep. I could kind of tell you where he was by the type of dishes he was describing. Because I would ask him, what does it look like? What colors? What, you know, because every class had its own set of dishes. You know, isn't that crazy? But I mean, it's just, you know, weird stuff like that. Well, he was the one who sent me the message about the iceberg going down. I'm like, what? We were just talking about this. So it was weird that he got the message popped up on his phone. He shared it to me. It's like 11:30 at night. And I'm like, Steve, what? You know, so it was just kind of crazy. But things like that happen all the time. And you think coincidence, or is it, you know, what you're putting out in the universe? What is it? You know, quantum entanglement? I don't know. You know? It's crazy.
Well, I think that's one of the mysteries, especially, like, you know, obviously this is part of the research. I think that everybody does. It's that fascination of, we have to figure out what happens after. You know, we want to know what happens when we close our eyes for that last time. And that's one of the things. Is it like people say, where this one, like, as you take that last breath, the white light you see is your eyes opening for the first time after you've been born. Yeah. And that it's just basically it's just a continuation that you just go right into the next
next thing. Right into the next thing. It's a good way to think about it. But if you think, this is the way I look at it. And it changes, it varies, because like I said, like this subject, it morphs and grows and you learn more and you go, oh, that's it. You know, I'm trying to force the puzzle piece in here and it goes this way. You know, that's what this subject is like. And we've all got these puzzle pieces. We don't have the cover to the box, you know, and we're not even sure what we're holding in our hands, the little bit that we have. We have theories and we have where we are in our consciousness right now, what our consciousness will allow us to accept and understand. And then what am I vibrating on? You know, I'm good. If I'm vibrating on a lower frequency, if I had like a couple of bad days and I'm not picking myself up and I'm not living, well, I'm going to think of sad things and depressing things and this and that. You know, it's going to be different than a day when I'm up and my glass is half full. And, you know what I'm saying? It's different. Your vantage point is different. Just like that ghost that didn't see his wife. We had to change his vibration and we had to change his thought process and let them work through it. It's like therapy. I guarantee anybody in here that's ever worked with spirits that are really concerned with their well-being, even maybe more so than the living in the building that you're trying to clear out. You know, I kind of am like that because I take the Hans Holzler approach, because that's who taught me when I was young.
Ted's got a good point right there too. What if it's like a channeling type thing?
Yep, exactly, Ted. Yeah.
That it's not so
Channeling,
much.
yeah.
It's not so much that they were reincarnated as they're more like the spirits right there, and just boom, they're just instant like channel, and they're there. They're
It's all
experiencing everything.
possible. It's all possible. It's like why I mentioned the fact that the young man in the story with the little old man who was giving him so much trouble. There was a lot more in there too. They went through a lot together. But I mentioned the fact that he had just gone through a divorce or breakup, enough to change his whole life, flipping over, new apartment, new this, getting back started, get back on your feet. That's a huge emotional thing. Even if he wasn't in a relationship, just moving into a new place is a lot of, hectic stuff. So what if the old man recognized that energy of depression and sadness and being out of place? And that's what drew him to it. So just like this antenna, he's got his antenna up. They're recognizing that vibration and that energy, and that's what draws them to it. It's not just you're a light in the darkness.
It's complicated.
I think there's a little more to it than that. And I do think you're a light in the darkness. I absolutely do. Your energy, what are you vibrating? What's your aura? What's going on, with you? Because that changes. It's like even talking to people about auras, which I cannot see, but I can feel vibration. And you talk to them and somebody will say, well, a lady stopped me at the mall once and told me that my aura was teal with orange stripes. Now I just made that up, but I've had close. And, you look at me and go, well, that's lovely, darling. You look good in teal and, orange stripes or whatever. I bet you just rock that because, first of all, I'm not going to spend the time to explain to that person that your aura changes with your mood. If you're sick, it shows. If you're angry, it shows. If this, it shows. If you're happy, it shows. You don't walk around in the same colors all the time. They change with your emotion.
And there's a consequence also. You don't know what you're getting depending on how you pass. So if it's a long period of time with lots of it's going to be different when you get received by somebody. Usually, if it's throughout it's not violent. You're going to be received by somebody. They're going to somebody to help transition you over to the side. The people that get stuck are usually something that's, unexpected.
It's
accident.
by choice. It's usually by choice, Brian, because we all have free will. There's that darn free will thing. Ooh, they had to throw that one in there, without it, we'd be robots, right? We'd be more robotic. We'd be everybody be on the same thing. You got to have that free will. You got to have that choice. You got to be able to make those choices or else, whatever we're doing here. And I do believe we're here to learn. This is kind of like a big school. That's just where I'm at right now. That if we didn't have those choices and everything was all marked out for us and we didn't have any, how would you develop as in character? How would you earn anything of, I did that. I made that bad choice. I lived through it. I learned. And now I'm on to you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying. It's,
It's like Katie's thing right there.
Yep. That's why I call them earthbound ghosts. To me, when I say ghosts, I mean earthbound spirits that have never crossed. When I say spirits, I mean those that have crossed and come back to visit or come back to communicate, because they're more in spirit, where your earthbound still has all those earthly burdens with them. Imagine somebody with a big trench coat like Columbo used to have with all the with all these pockets, and you've got all this shit in your pockets. It's heavy like rocks, dude. You got all this stuff, but think about it. You got regret, you got jealousy, you got I'm pissed off at that chick. That guy did me wrong. I'm really mad at my mom. She didn't make the right cookies, whatever it is. And all this stuff is in your pockets. I should have done this. I can't forgive myself for that. That was horrible. That was just, I can't even believe that was me. And you have all these things in your pockets. Well, that weighs you down in life and it weighs you down in death. You got to empty all that stuff. You see what I mean? Yeah. And some of those pockets are so heavy that I believe these, when people pass, it can be that they just don't know they're dead. Can be that it was such a fast hit, like almost like when you hit something in a car and you're, Barry Taft said this, and it was like one of the cooler things I've heard him say was he was talking about, it's like you're wearing a seatbelt and you hit that. Well, part of you stays behind and the rest of you goes through the windshield out into the next, phase. Right. It's like, it's so quick. It's like you're jolted out. That's possible. But I think a lot of it is choice.
What if some of the ghosts, what if some of the ghosts are really pissed off because they live the same miserable life they live in their normal life? So they go to work, but they don't have a voice anymore. And the only thing they can do is just haunt people. That is their voice. Like they do the same thing they did in their normal life. In their when they die, they have to go to the same job. They have to see the same shit. They can't talk back to the wife who's just cussing everybody out in the house. Like, I remember when I could speak my mind. Now I can't. So I'm just gonna knock this bowl off the counter.
Well,
Boom.
imagine how frustrating that can be for them. And I would say that probably is more common than you think. This is why your cabinet doors are banging. This is why you got knocks on the wall. And like you said earlier, knock 3 times on, knock twice for yes, once for no, and all this. Well, what are you doing for the ghost? All you're doing is getting the ghost, the earthbound, to use up all their energy, and then you're not gonna come to any kind of conclusion. If you walk in there with the intent is everything. This I do believe. That once you walk in there, look, I've had to speed through some things because of situations, and if you've got somebody that's there and ready to listen, they're primed to go. And in the situation I was in Gettysburg, we had a couple that were fully intelligent, knew everything that was going on, understood the equipment, didn't even have to tell them to turn the flashlight on and off or the EMF meter. I mean, it was just like bip, 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 bip. And I'm like, okay, guys, here we go. But the thing is you have to understand it as a soldier. I was a soldier. I grew up around soldiers, all in my life. And that's just how we are. And the first thing I had to do is apologize for wearing pants. Because here's the deal. Who were you speaking to? What was their language? What was their culture like? You see what I mean? These are people in Gettysburg who walked around and as a married couple called each other Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They were just like us behind closed doors, but out in public, they put forth, a different appearance. And they didn't change. If they're still there as earthbound, they didn't change in their thinking much. And here's this redheaded chick from Jersey coming at them, go, come on, guys, everybody line up. Let's go. We're good. Time. But if you think about it, it's like, is there anybody here who can hear me, who would like to listen to me? Is there anybody here that would like some help? And right away you got, foo, foo, foo. But there's more out here behind them moving. You can feel their energy. You can feel the erratic movement. I mean, I had one that was doing a figure 8, just pacing back and forth and saying things. I'm picking up little things like, I don't know why we listen to these people. These people, here they come again. But what are they seeing? Like you asked, what did they see? Did they see me standing there in jeans and going, who's this ghoul? What kind of an impertinent person is this? Not even speaking the way they speak. So you've got to slow it down a little bit and try to realize where you are. I mean, if you went into an old castle, you're talking to somebody from the 1600s. You see what I mean? What are you talking to?
And the thing about the guardian angels, I've always felt that they're more of, they can't directly, because like you said, with the free will, they can't directly influence. It's more like, it's like, hey, should I do this? Should I shove this fork into the outlet? Bet you're not going to do that again. Kind of hurt, didn't it? It's not so much that they tell you. It's like, no, take that door. They're just like, if I were you, I might not do that door again. It's up to you.
I think we just misunderstand words sometimes. Sometimes we take words very literal. I've come up against the guardian angel question a couple times in my life. And it took me a long time to realize sometimes you need to hit the tree.
Yep.
Why didn't that guardian angel keep me from falling off that thing and I broke my arm? The
Bruce, I think you're talking about Incubus.
That led you there. And what did you learn from that? Again, we go back to school.
We need to
or it might not have been just for you. If you look at the universe, remember I said 40,000 foot view? Look back at the cover to the box. Sometimes you get glimpses of it and you realize that it usually in this lifetime, it's an amazing thing. Things don't happen for one person. It's everybody combined.
Yeah,
you're like a ripple. You're like dropping a pebble into a still lake. You're going to see ripples at first, but then they get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And pretty soon you don't even see them anymore, but they're there and they continue on and on. That's what we are in our life. So our choices have consequences, not only for us, but they go to the next person, and then that person reacts, and then that causes them to do something. So it very much is that kind of butterfly effect kind of thing, and that works with, I believe it's no different for ghosts,
You got to learn how to pick yourself up. That's why you need to fall. You have to, you play with fire, you get burnt. You got to
get back up.
This is all part of your education. And
chicks dig scars.
Katie knows, because she told. I asked her why my spirit guides drink. I think they still drink. And then she tells me one of them's English, and I'm like,
the ones that cook and get scars.
Yep.
Yes.
Not intervene. And it's all, you can ask them to give you assistance and make it a sign that you're not gonna talk yourself out of it. Like put it right in my face, but you know what human beings do? They talk themselves out of it. You know what happens? Here's phone calls I get. I guarantee you Katie's got them too. That, all right, conversation. A friend of mine says, I was talking to my sister, Cisco, and we're talking about my dad. And I said, I just miss him so much. I wish there was a way he could tell us that he's doing okay. I know he's okay, but I wish he could tell me that he's doing okay. And Katie will tell you too that your dad could come through, stand in front of you, tell you what you were wearing last night, what your favorite band was when you were a kid, what your name of your first dog was. And that person's still going to come back and go, more, because we're those kind of people that really need to be validated over and over and over. Some over and over and over again, because we just can't accept what's right in front of our faces. And I think that happens with a lot of people. And I think that shows that there's something else going on, but that's just me. I'm no therapist, but I can tell you it happens. So this lady tells me, yeah, we're talking about dad. And then I'd leave Cisco and I go to get in my car to go to work. And there's a red cardinal perched on my side,
there you go.
driver's side window, the mirror. And it just stood there, and I saw it, and I stopped dead in my tracks, she said. And I looked right at it, and it kind of looked at me. And she said, it stayed there longer than I thought. And then all of a sudden, I thought it should. And it took off, and it flew. And, I kind of stood there for a minute, got in my car, and I went to work. And I wanted to call you tonight to ask you, do you think that, my dad sent that to let me know that he was okay? And I said, honey, what was the first thing you felt when you saw that cardinal? She said, I felt warmth. I felt love. I felt a smile come across my face. I said, then why the hell do you want to talk yourself out of it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see a cardinal?
Take it.
It's someone.
Take it.
It's someone important for you.
And that sent that. They're not the cardinal. They're not the butterfly. They're not the dove. Certain spirits can manipulate certain things. My mother always shows up as a butterfly. It just happened last week. And in New Jersey Shore, at the beach in October. Bless you. Oh. I feel the same way.
You're supposed to mute it before, not after.
It works better that way.
Seriously.
But
like he sneezes, then he mutes it. I'm like, no, you're supposed to do that reverse.
Talk ourselves out? Why do we talk ourselves out of it? Take the win.
You want more. You want more. I know the people. Everybody has
kind of creature.
Everybody has questions.
We're that kind of creature.
I mean, like, for example, something you said, we had an experience with table tipping down in Gettysburg, which blew a lot of people away. And there was an individual that came in that pushed their way in, and I said nope, and I said no, and would not give up that table until someone actually, I forgot what her name, who it was. She literally did something where she
had to take the spirit guides and get it, and right. We had to take.
Oh my God, Ron, that is so true.
That person just went right in the corner, but yeah, it's just some people will come in.
It's an absolutely amazing thing, but you can have a whole room full of spirits standing there. The ones that are going to get through are the ones that were strong and I don't want to say energetic, but it's all about energy and how they were in their personality. Now, if you've got like your little wallflower that always kind of stood in the back corner and just kind of sit, that's the way they're going to be in death too, unless there's spirits that are coming over, but they're still going to have that personality, a little bit about them. They're going to let the other one go. I've been in many sessions where my mom has come through for a certain medium, And she's kind of like worn a path. She recognizes her energy. She's like, your mom's here, but she's bringing in people. I'm like, let her, she knows better than I do, what people need to hear. Bring it on in. And see, that's another one. You want a good reading from somebody? If you want a good reading from a medium, God, I know so many wonderful, talented, beautiful, wise souls that have so much ability to spend their whole lives honing and exercising this ability. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. But the best thing that you can do, and the best thing you can do for your friendly medium too, is to sit down and go, just tell them to tell me what I need to hear at this time in my life. I'll shut up now.
Now, Sapphire Elf, it's not a knife making in the workshop. You have got to start calling it the forge.
The forge.
Yeah. So if you're going to go by elf, you have to start using some Tolkien language. Yeah, it's got to be, you've got to come up with.
Get you.
Yeah, you got to come up with some, you got to don't call it the knife workshop. You got to come up, like I said, the magical forge, something like that. You got to just go with that. Sorry, I digress.
Yep, that's exactly right, Katie. And I think it has to do with intent. It has to do with the energy. You know what I mean? Because if you're all going, look, you're going in there kicking doors, provoking things. First of all, it's rude. Second of all, you're dealing with a human being. This is the essence of a human being. So, those kind of people just looking for evidence, or I'm going to do a trigger. Now, triggers can be done. We've played music before, but I usually do it to soothe, not to irritate and get them to do something. I'm not there for that. I'm there because that is a human being. And if it was my son, if it was me, if it was somebody else that was stuck, can you imagine being stuck in the same kitchen for 100 years or the same battlefield for 150 years?
God.
Mean, isn't that enough? And that's what I'm saying, and I think I come from that whole leave no man behind kind of deal. And I think that's why a lot of these soldiers are here.
How about that, Sapphire? This is the nerd in me. That's the Lord in the Rings elf sword.
I can just picture being in the same place, getting stuck there, and then the next thing you know, you got Zach T-Baggins coming in, trying to provoke, and I'm like, I'm gonna kick him in the balls. No, fucking in the balls, right?
You're right there. Right. Well, people get slapped and punched all the time. So I get mad when people just put these rules on ghosts and go, like, I grew up, ghosts can't hurt you. They can make you hurt yourself. Is what I used to get. BS.
I'm like the little kid. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Ghosts can't hurt you.
Yeah, that's not even true. But
you got to get Chris in a haunted house.
Yes.
There's one in Palm Beach County. It's like really, really haunted.
I know, but I picked up bodies for I think about 3 years. I mean,
bodies?
I picked up bodies. I worked for the funeral home for about 3 years. Yeah. So I picked up bodies at decomps. I picked up a lot of stuff. And the van was haunted, I think. The radio would just come on out of nowhere. Kid you not. Like, I'd be riding down the road to go pick up a body. It'll start playing the news. I'm like, dude, I didn't turn on the radio. I'm like, knock it off. There we go.
Right. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Getting all these things popping up now.
Well, it's great. He's playing. He's pushing buttons. Well,
was that you, Brian, that did that?
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be.
I'm just trying to figure it out.
Just like a junk car. In an accident, you go to
how did that happen?
The junkyard. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whoever hacked us in, keep that up. That's awesome. I like that. However that worked out, that was pretty cool.
That could be from Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Podcast.
Podcast. Could be. But it's like that. I always feel bad about that, where there's a car wreck and maybe a CCTV or something in a junkyard will pick up that the ghost just walking around the car, because the car is what they recognize. They're trying to sort it out, or these people. And again, people in here probably agree with me. I get so agitated at people that get on a podcast and say that all of these people that this happens to, they're always ghosts. There is no always. I was listening to a medium one time, it was about 20 years ago, and she said that all suicides are ghosts. They don't ever cross. Well, that's a big bunch of BS. And there's a lot to this. There's a lot of responsibility at spouting out theories and stuff like that, because on the other side of this, you have the grieving people, you have grieving families, you have people that are part of investigations, you have all this stuff. And that is just not true. And it's irresponsible to say, because I think you would be hard pressed to find a all-inclusive rule other than one that I lean on all the time, and that is love is eternal. I will stand by that eternally. But to say you definitively know something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can.
I'm a major cinephile. You know, like I said, people say it. I agree. I mean, it's much like the dog on The Fifth Element. You know, if they came up, The Fifth Element was love. You know, that's a lot of stuff. It's like that's
it's a
what
very
it comes
strong
down.
energy.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the. I think it's one of the strongest out there. It's light and love. You know,
And that's what it is. It's like the one that bound everything together was love. You know, and that's it makes sense. As much as I like the dog on, like, you know, they mailed that in. It's like, no, it's as I get older, I'm like, okay, it worked. I just didn't like it.
Well, when you see it from this side too, and again, anybody in the chat that's been on an investigation or seen total strangers coming in to help a family in a house that are, again, total strangers, and they have something going on, and you sit and you go through all that, you sort it all out, and then you find out you're sitting there doing everything you can to help a dead total stranger, you know, and time and time and time again, that energy, if you could get them to remember what that felt like, and imagine how hard it is to stand on a battlefield where you're talking to people that 30 seconds ago were in hand-to-hand combat, you know, because to them, that's what it was. In some cases, they were just there, you know, that 160 years doesn't mean anything to them. Right. So you're trying to get them to remember what love was like.
Yeah.
That's a tough deal, you know, because they're still angry. They're still in the fight. It's like therapy, you know, it's an incredible thing, but love will do it every time. You just got to get them to remember what that is. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Absolutely. And that's one of the, I'm just thinking, it's like, we haven't even, look at this. We're already at an hour and 15.
I know, it goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, we haven't even talked cryptids.
Okay.
It's like,
you want to hear about the time I saw Bigfoot?
Sure. Like I said, we got just a few minutes here. So yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. I'll give you the fast version. So, Alabama, Tennessee state line, pretty much riding it. Coming back, it's just about twilight. Now, when you're driving country roads like that, now about corn was high. Okay. So you September, October. You're driving cautious in the country because something's always coming darting out of the corn. It might be a run of deer. It might be kids, you know, right. And you've got a lot of miles of this, and this corn comes right up to the road. There's no space wasted, right, in Alabama. So we're driving, and I'm not going really fast because, again, like I said, cautious. And I've got my son with me. He was about 10 or 11, and he's, of course, in the passenger side, and I'm driving. So as we're driving, I start getting this feeling something's coming. Something's coming. It's like a feeling like a herd of deer are coming. You can tell the energy is getting different. You know, be cautious. I'm slowing down, pull my foot off the gas a little bit. Now the car is starting to slow a little bit because I don't know what direction. I feel like it's coming from, you know, my right-hand side through the corn. And as I'm driving, that's where I'm looking. And I told my son, I said, something's coming. It's going to be a deer or dog, something. And he's looking because he knows it's going to happen. If I said it, because you can feel it. And then I start going through what I feel like is almost I'm driving into everything kind of slows down, and I get hit with this massive wave of depression and not anxiety, but fear. Like I'm lost. I'm scared. I'm lost. I don't know which way to go. And I'm getting this feeling, and I'm still thinking it's a deer because of course they would be feeling that, right? I'm being chased by something. I got to go. You know, it's that fight or flight kind of thing. But this was so sad. And as we're pulling through, I start to see this break in the corn. It's a little bit darker, and it's about the shape of a human being, but not quite as high as the corn. So it's about maybe 3.5, 4 feet tall. And that's just an estimate. And as we're driving, I'm thinking it's a guy. So I'm getting ready to speed up a little bit because I think somebody's about to jump, you know, do something with the car. I mean, you never know, right? Mm-hmm. And your mom thinking, you know, your hand comes out, the arm comes out, brace the kid, you know. So we're going, and as we go by, you know what I mean? As we go by, you see this, you know, it's like and you just slow down a little bit, and time just stands still. And I see from about, I want to say I saw half of its chest maybe through the passenger side window, all of its face. And it's a Bigfoot, but it's a young Bigfoot. And it's got skin where you could see the skin where it wasn't all complete hair, was like an elephant's skin. So very, very leathery looking, very, very wrinkly, like not wrinkly, but creviced or whatever, cracked. Not, you know what I'm saying? There's lines in it. And you see that he's dark, either dark brown or dark grayish around that, whatever. I focused on its face because it met me eye to eye. And the whole time I'm going by and seeing this big old lip like this, just a big old, and it wasn't just a pout. It had a big lip. It was weird, right, Bri? I mean, I don't know. So
Yep.
He's looking at me and I'm looking at him. And the first thing I want to do is help it. But as I'm looking at him, I also see right below his face is my son's head. And I'm thinking, my son is between me and it. And if it's lost, where's its mother? So I hit the gas and I took off. And my son just looked at me just like this. And he goes, tell me you saw that. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw it. And that was it. But the whole thing about it was I felt so bad. If I had been by myself, I would have definitely done something different. But my mom kicked in. I had to get my son out of there. And that overrode everything.
She'd have a
Now-
Bigfoot
Wow.
behind her right now, sitting there like,
Yeah,
"Ooh, peace."
I would have done something. The Native American would have come out at me and I'd have made him a sandwich and we would have waited for his mom. And I'm a mom too. I'm leaving now. We would
Here you
have
go,
had,
see you later.
I would have done it, bro. You've seen me do crazy.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
But
not.
that was my Bigfoot.
Now, do you have obviously besides Bigfoot, do you have a favorite cryptid?
I have one that I'm not sure was a cryptid. I
Steve
can't
Stockton.
categorize this at all. I can't, I'm living with my mom, same mother, and and we're in a car and we're driving in a place called Dismal Swamp, Deep Creek, Virginia. And it was an 11-mile ride down one really thin road. I'm sure now it's different. So sorry, guys in Virginia, I'm not dissing you. But back then, man, this road, swamp on both sides. It was every bit dismal. You can imagine it was a swamp. And it came right up to the road again, just like the corn. Okay. And there was this one place that was so thin. It was a tiny little ride over bridge. And you had to wait for the other car to pass over first before you could go. One of those deals. That's how thin this road was. My mom was scared to death of this thing, so she would like tell stories or something while we were riding. My job, she had a Mustang Mach 2, and those things had huge dashboards. And my thing was you didn't have to wear seatbelts back then as much.
Yep.
And I would lean on top of that. Yep, I had the mom arm. I was good. I would lean on top. My job was to try to spot animals running across because you'd see them coming through the swamp, running or whatever, and go across the road. All different kinds. And my job was to be a spotter, So I'm looking and she's driving and she's telling me a story and you don't go very fast on that road. So I'm saying 30-ish, something like that. And all of a sudden I see this thing and I didn't see it coming like you normally see because there's a lot of water and real low grass there and it gets taller as it goes back. I didn't see him come across anything. I just saw him come out from this like grass mound or whatever. And all of a sudden this black thing that kind of sort of looked like a bear walking on all fours. But then it kind of sort of looked a little like a black hog too. So I thought maybe wild boar. I lived on a farm at the time that had hogs. So I could,
Right.
I could compare the two. And I'm just, again, it's going through your head so fast. It's hard to describe. So mom's driving. She sees it because I know she sees it because she goes like this. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like a bear. She goes, that's no bear. And we're coming up on this thing and it's just stopped in the road. So my mom really slows down and it's not moving. And she's not going to slam on the brakes and chance going this way or that way in the swamp. You didn't make it. Your tire went off of that thing. You had it, And she goes Car's headed right for it. I got a really good look at it. And as it turned and it looked at us, scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. The face, as fast as my hand is doing this, that's how fast its face was changing.
Really?
I shit you not. Bam, 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 bam. And I'm looking at it. I mean, like a goat kind of face with maybe pig ears. I mean, nothing made any sense. And it was happening so fast. Car slowing now still hits it. And you brace yourself for this thing. Meanwhile, I see this face and it just disappears. I'm guessing under the car. It was the weirdest thing I ever saw. Mom completely stops the car and just holding the steering wheel, white knuckle. What the hell was that? I hit it. And she's saying things like this. And I'm just, and she's saying, I hit it. And she's saying weird stuff like the water isn't moving. I had no idea as a 10-year-old what that meant. But that's the kind of stuff she's saying. So now I process it and think, okay, well, she's thinking the water's not moving. It didn't go into the water. It didn't come out of the water. Water's not moving. Yep. This is what I'm thinking she was thinking. Then she says, it's under the car. So
you're going to have to translate some of that there, Sapphire. We don't speak Aussie.
She takes off again. I guess panic. I don't know. And she's looking in the rear view mirror and she's looking at the side view mirrors. Now, a Mach 2 had the louver back window. So it's like a louver.
Oh, yeah.
So you can only see slats like looking through shutters. So I'm trying to see where this thing is. She's going, where is it? Where is it? Then she does something completely devoid of any common sense whatsoever. I see her hand go for the handle of the door. And I just went, and pushed as far away as I could. I'll never forget. I think I pressed up against that door for a long time. And I'm like, don't, and I couldn't speak. It was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't get out, don't get out. And it was almost, I couldn't say anything. I was just scared. And it was like she heard me because she started to open the door and put her foot out. Then she pulled it really back in, slammed the door and took off again. So now we're hell-bent for leather. She's just going home. She stops and she looks out. She looks back. She sticks her head out the window. She says, nothing. This thing is nowhere in sight. And apparently the water is not moving. We go all the way home and I'm just like this in the seat. And she's talking to herself. She's upset. She can't process what just happened. I don't know if she saw the face changes. She had to see it. It was right there. This thing's head was as big as a good hog, a good size hog. And we get there. She pulls up and I hear the gravel, the tires on the gravel. So I know we're home. And I sit back up and I look at her. And I didn't want to look at her because I'm telling you, as a 10-year-old girl, my mom didn't get scared. And the fact is how scared and distraught she was ripping a heart, a hole in my heart. I just didn't know how to deal with it because I didn't see her like that often. And she stops the car and she just sits there a minute. And then she looks at me and she says, stay right here. And I'm like, I ain't going nowhere, ma'am. And she gets out of the car. She walks around the back and I can see her looking like she's looking to see if there's any, you run her hand over the car, any damage. She works her way all the way past me, goes to the hood of the front, saved it for last. She looks down and I guess because she didn't see any dents or any hair or anything like she had hit this thing, she goes down and she looks underneath. And she came back up, she put her hands on the hood and she cried. And we just sat there for a minute. That was the most devastating thing. Now, a lot of people tell me Native American lore, lots of different cultures, that was a harbinger of doom. If it was right on time. My mother didn't last but several weeks after that. She was gone.
Wow.
I do not know what it was. I don't pretend to understand. People said shapeshifter, or it was this, or it was that, or it was something that I think you, Brian, or Steve said, well, maybe it was something just stepped out of a portal and didn't know where it was. And you surprised it as much as look, they all fit. I don't know what it was. I know what I saw. And that face moved so fast. See how blurry my fingers are? That's what I got to see.
Wow.
No clue.
it could be multiple things. And then when you find out later on someone passed away, then it's usually, yeah, something like that.
I don't know. That's the same. We saw the Thunderbird about 3 weeks before that, 2 to 3 weeks right before that.
That's
and
another
she's the
sign.
one who said it was a Thunderbird. I mean, it
Recently,
took up
yeah.
same road.
You gotta, I mean, talk about Native American lore. There's a lot of that going on right now. There are a lot of signs with single crows doing certain things, and that's a sign that someone's dying.
I had a whole parking lot full of them for a whole week right before my best friend died, and I said, "You guys better not be here for me." And then they started calling. They just started calling, and I'm like, "Okay, yep, I knew."
I tell them that.
I did. I saw one Yoda girl. That's what my mom said. Now, my mom knew a whole lot more about the lore than I do. I know it. This isn't even really my genre. I don't know that much about cryptids and things like that. I know a little bit about the Thunderbird, but the reason she said it is because the way it came down and the wingspan on it, I mean, it went past the road into the swamp, its wings, but it came out of nowhere and just did one of these and up. And when it went over, same Mustang, when it went over, you could see it through the windshield up under the carriage and everything else. My mom said that was the Thunderbird. She goes, something's going to happen. 3 weeks later, we see the pig thing. And then I don't know. I can't even pretend to know. The snot hag, I wouldn't say she was a cryptid. I still don't know what she was. I don't know if she was an elemental. I don't know if she was an old lady who just had an appearance. I don't know if it was something that manifests. I had no clue. But that one was wild too.
Mine's completely boring compared to that story. I like the ghost pants.
Sweet. Yeah. Well,
the Fresno
that one's pretty creepy. And now they've got 3 or 4 different sightings of that. Or is it at least 3, isn't it, Brian?
3 or 4.
That,
yeah, about 4, actually.
And I don't see how you'd fake that, even with the stilts. I mean, you think about stilts, but you watch all the fact and fake. They try to do it every which way but loose. I don't know.
The one in front of the house, I can see that one being staged because you could have wires, you could have stuff doing that one. The one where it was in Yosemite,
the original
out there, that one, just the wire work alone, that the rig that you'd have to set up to get that one to work, because this was done way before drones. So nobody's flying.
Yeah.
You would have had to have a massive rigging with wires and to slowly get it to do that walk out there in that opening. Just there would be way too much infrastructure you'd have to set up and to pull that one off.
I've seen people with stilts do things like that, but it's still
there's a certain feel. I don't know how to explain it, but people much wiser than I could get on here and try, but there's a certain feel of it. Like people ask, like, how do you know when it's something ancient and it's got evil intent? Well, you feel it.
No,
you feel it.
Yeah.
And how do you know it's a human being that's just angry? You feel it. And you've got these filters that you run everything through. It's the same as, like if you've ever been at a Walmart and, you feel somebody coming around the corner, in the other aisles, like, what? Wow, something's changing here. And all of a sudden this person comes through and you just get an off-putting vibe from them or something along those lines. Similar to that, but I'll tell you something, human spirit, human ghosts and spirit too, and things that were never human. I'm telling you what, man, if you're going there to help a family or something, they know you're coming before you do.
Yeah. And Walmart has a ton of cryptids in there.
Yeah. No kidding. But how much time do we have? I'll tell you.
Enough about the patronage.
How much time do we have? I'll give you a creepy one.
We got a couple minutes. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
all right. So
don't threaten me with a good time. I'm telling you.
All right. We talked a little bit about the Native American stuff. Now, in my case, I follow that more than I follow anything else, probably more than anybody in my family. I'm the youngest of 9. Okay. And the reason is I've always had this connection with my mom, my grandmother, my great grandmother. and teaching you things at a young age about who you were, who they were, and who went before you was very important. So when I was in kindergarten, we lived for a short time. My mom was going through a divorce, and all my sisters and brothers were older than me. I think the youngest one closest to me was 16. And they were halves, and it was like the Brady Bunch. So when my mom left, she left with just me, and everybody else had their own other thing to do. So that's how I wound up being an only child with like 8 sisters and brothers. So it can happen. So we stayed for a short time with my grandmother and grandfather in a little gray house that he built from a Sears catalog that he ordered. It was wonderful with his own 2 hands. I actually got to stay in one of those. It was pretty cool. And they had one of the best cellars ever as a kid, because part of the cellar was Pop-Pop's, and that's where he was a machinist. That's where all his tools were. And he used to tell me about them, but I could only sit on the bench to talk because he didn't want me near the tools. So it was a big deal. They had a root cellar, and they had the baskets of apples and things like that, potatoes and stuff, and canned goods down there. And then there was this wonderful room it was a sewing room that my grandmother and my great grandmother used. And it was just a little room with a curtain and a little cot back there. And, in case, you sewed too late, I guess just roll over the cot. I'm not sure, but that's what was there. And
is that what we're calling it? Sewing too late?
Yeah, sewing too late. Yeah. Well, she was 90, so I'm pretty sure that's all she was doing, honey.
Sewing too late.
So anyhow, she old Singer sewing machine, and I love to go down there and talk to her because she would let me sit on her lap, and she would let me put my feet on her feet. We'd make the needle go. And she told me all about sewing. And she had these wonderful stories, like all these old clothes, like she would make quilts out of. And she knew where the clothes were. Like, your uncle, Floyd wore this at a dance once or whatever. There was a story with all these things. I wore this to this church social or, date or whatever. And just all these different stories. I thought it was wonderful because she also taught me how to braid hair. She used to take her hair down, let me braid it, and, taught me how important learning how to plait was. And she taught me the rabbit dance and how to speak a little Lenape. We were Lenny Lenape in Cherokee. And she would teach me all these things, and she would tell me about herbal teas and all this other stuff. Just loved it. It was a wonderful little house. And I can remember coming home from school, and my grandmother would watch like Dark Shadows and stuff. It was that era. It was pretty cool. And we didn't stay there very long. And because we're all separated, we had a reunion that was about, I'd say probably 25 years. We hadn't seen each other all in the same room. We started talking about old times and looking through albums and stuff. And I'm like, man, I came back here out of the Army, and I come back, everything's changed. Where's the little gray house? Well, they put the highway in, and yada, yada. I'm like, oh gosh. Okay. So that kind of talk is going around. And I said, man, whatever happened to that Singer sewing machine? God, I would have loved to have had that. I had such good memories. My sister said, what kind of memories would you have had with that? And I said, oh man, that was down. And then I told her little stories like I just told you. She's getting pissed at me. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with her? And she said, I'm like, why? Her face is all wrinkling up and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell's got up her, And so I just go on, and, a couple other people mentioned some memories and stuff like that. And I said, well, it's a dang shame about the Singer sewing machine. And she goes, wait a minute. She said, what did you say? You said you used to dance, Grandma taught you the rabbit dance and Lenape, and I spoke it. And I said, she sure did, because I didn't learn that out of a book, and taught her all this other stuff. And she says, well, that's just it. I've had it. I'm like, well, it's my older sister. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, that's it. She says, that's a lie. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. No, it's not. What are you talking about? She goes, I'll tell you why. She said, because I took you to grandmother's funeral. You were 4 years old. I carried you on my hip. If you were 6 years old going to kindergarten, she was dead. You never danced with grandma in the cellar or plaited her hair or sewed on a Singer sewing machine. I said, you bet I did, girl.
Wow.
Yep. It was so important to the matriarchal line in our family. This is how I figure it. Because my grandmother was born in 1890. Okay. So that was her mother that did this. they had to lie about who they were in the East Coast of America in those years. And they said that they were immigrants in their own soil, so they wouldn't have their property taken and be forced to go someplace else. And they were so used to keeping it quiet. And I think it didn't rest well with her not being able to say who she was. She came back and picked the one that would listen and told her. And that was me. And I'm still telling it.
That's cool. That's cool. As you're telling that story too, and it's one of those, I thought about, that's one of the things that we're actually, like, the generation, pretty much mine on down, we're going to lose that, the storytelling side. Because most of us, if you think about it, it's not so much that we don't have stories, but like our grandparents, they didn't have the technology. So their experiences were sitting around the campfire, doing these things, doing these activities. They would do these things. They would have all these stories to tell, and that's how they relayed this information. Now everybody's looking at their phone.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much like what would happen with COVID. When that hit, people got a little bit of a taste of what it used to be like because everybody spent time going outside. Everybody looked up, everybody looked out, and they saw it. They're like, "Oh my God, what are those little dots in the sky? That's called stars. Welcome outside." You got people that finally got this.
Crazy story. When Walmart opened back up, my son, he's like, "Dad, I want to go fishing." So we needed a new fishing rod. There was no fishing rods. There was no bicycles. There was no scooters. There were nothing to do with outside. Now the kids are back on their video games. They're like, well, we'll ride bikes. We'll play with scooters. We'll do this. I'm like, dude, any other time Walmart has a bunch of bikes, a bunch of scooters, and a bunch of fishing poles.
They didn't know what to do with their kids. I was working in a craft store, and people were coming in, and after 2 days, I need something for the kids to do. See, that's the problem. Don't get me started on that. But I think that the best thing that came out of that is people had to live with what they were raising.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, like your story nowadays, like with kids, I don't think that could happen for a lot of them, because it would be, they might be, grandma or grandpa might show up to them, but a lot of them are going to be, not now. I'm in the middle of a game.
Right.
I'm in the middle of Fortnite. Not now, Mom.
Yeah, they're in the middle,
I remembered it. I was 6 and I cherished those. And I remembered it so vividly. She told me stuff like just these moments of, she'd say like, nowadays the women, they're doing this lifting. And I didn't know what she was talking about. She said, why would you ever want to erase every tear you cried, every smile you smiled, every laugh you laughed? This is your journey. This is the roadmap of your journey. And why would you ever want to change that? We're proud of this. And that's why my podcast is all based on journey. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. Stop getting so hung up on all these things. A lot of these things are supposed to happen. Insert your thing here. I mean, it's just like sometimes you're supposed to hit the tree. Sometimes you're supposed to not get that job you prayed for. Because then you find out, oh my God, if I had gotten that, I'd been in this position. I got this one over here. I was supposed to be over here. That's pretty cool. And enjoying that journey and trying to keep the lights on and trying to find that silver lining in bad times. Don't stress the small stuff. There's plenty of big stuff. So,
well, there's so many people, you always hear that. Well, if I could go back in time, I'd change this. If you do that, you're not going to be the person you are today. You'll never, everything will be completely different. Yeah.
Ask any rowing team, at Oxford or anywhere else. It's one little piece of seaweed on that boat, on that little, what do they call them, Brian?
Or
on the rowing,
I know.
The canoe. It's not a canoe. It's something else. A racer.
It's a
crew. But just one little piece of seaweed will knock you off your off your race or hold you back. And that's what happens in life too. And I think that's what happens with, like I said, ghosts, with all those things in their pockets. They got to get the stuff out of their pockets. They got to let that stuff go. Now, I personally believe at this time that once you cross over, you go through that healing, but I believe you judge yourself. I believe there's a lot of enlightened beings around to help. I believe you have help, probably your spirit guides, your loved ones, and other people that, probably recognize there, but not know here. But I don't think we do it alone. I think your soul goes through a healing. And ghosts that are stuck here don't get to do that.
I don't think it's called that.
You don't get to. Yeah, I don't think so either. But good try though. Keep stabbing at it.
No, I'm
But,
gonna pass on douche canoe as the answer.
Yeah, no, I got one phrase. It's kind of
I
like with
know
the
a
kids.
few of them.
I got a funny story. It reminded me of today. I was going to work and it popped in my head. I'm out. We used to live in Oregon, and I was wood cutting. So I took my son. He's 4 or 5 at the time. So, I've already introduced him to video games by this time. He's playing, on this little Nintendo DS. He's playing games. So I get him out there in the woods. And so we're out cutting. I'm falling trees and cutting the rounds. And he's like, Dad, how long are we going to be out here? I'm like, I don't know, until I get the truck full. He goes, well, I don't want to be out here all day because I have a life. And this is a 4 or 5-year-old kid. Yeah, I have a life. I don't want to be here out all day.
It is school. God bless.
Yeah, it's God so. Yeah, these are the type of things. Like that's one of the things. Like a lot of these kids nowadays, they're missing that journey part because they're so singularly focused on the device that they're not. And this isn't just. It's like I like to play video games too. I like to play the games on. I still, like I said, I walk around the neighborhood playing Pokemon Go. I mean, I still play games. I go. It's like I like doing it. I'm still a nerd. I mean, I play Q, Cards Universe, and everything. I mean, I like playing these games. But there's a time when it's really cool to just sit around a campfire and just talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you know why it's so cool and why you feel so good about it? Think about how any culture, go back in time. I don't care what part of the globe you pick, except maybe Alaska or Antarctica because of all the snow. Mm-hmm. But we used to spend a lot of time outside, digging our hands into that soil, grounding, communing with nature, living among nature in balance. Everything is all out of balance now, where nature has become just, a nuisance, and
virtual nature.
We're all up inside, not grounding ourselves, not out there listening to the birds and the tree. We've become separated from nature, and that's not natural. We are natural. We are nature. And we need to get back to that. That's why you feel so good going for a hike in the woods or going fishing and spending a little time with the sky and the sun and the birds and the crickets and stuff, because that's your genetic memory remembers that. That was sustenance, life, your whole life, hunter, gatherer, whatever, all came from that. And I think that's one of the big problems with the whole Bigfoot thing too. I'll have to come back on another show and we'll talk about the different kinds of big feet. Because there's different kinds.
Yeah, when you get outside and you actually commune with the nature and with energy from nature, and there's nothing like it. I mean, especially the feeling of running from a grizzly bear, for example,
mm-hmm.
or
or how did you know? We've talked ourselves out of all that intuition. How many times have you, been in a situation where you've heard somebody, well, I didn't, something told me not to get on that elevator, but I did it. Something told me not to get in that plane. Somebody told me not to date that guy, or something told me not to, talk to that chick. I mean, all of these things, we talk ourselves out of the door. You look out your window, a rabbit's out there chewing on clover. And that chickadee, that tiniest little bird in the backyard, or that tiny little chipmunk, sends out signals for the whole yard, not just the other chipmunks, not just the other chickadees. Chickadee has 27 different warning signals that it gives out. Why so many? Because it's so precise. It tells you if it's coming from above or below. They know if it's a hawk. They know if it's a fox, all because of that chickadee. Well, take the chickadee out of the picture. What do you got?
Dead rabbit.
Yep. And the rabbit doesn't talk himself out of it, or the squirrel doesn't talk himself out of it. They go down and they start warning the next guy. They're not just out for themselves. We have been told we're all each individuals out for ourselves, every man for himself. And we used to live in a more of a communal nature with nature.
And it's kind of it's a little the same, thing with that yard and everything. What's one of the things that modern companies and commercial have told us to do is kill dandelions, because these are a toxic thing that, they destroy your yard. That's actually one
cures.
That's probably one of the more beneficial plants. And all of us have grown up thinking that this is a disastrous weed that must be destroyed at all costs.
That's the main one on
The
So, I mean-
purslane that you're killing in your driveway has more omega-3s in it than eggs. I mean, it's incredible. They've told us to kill all the weeds, whereas like when
Yep.
you were living with nature, you knew to only take 1/3 of it and leave 2/3, one to chance and one to nature to reharvest for the next round. We've lost all that that gentle knowing of how to survive and help each other survive, because we used to live, like I said, as a village or as a tribe rather than one guy in an expensive car trying to get to that job, staying on a hamster wheel of just turning. Of course, we don't feel natural. It's not natural.
Well,
You know?
it's all you have to do is just look at some reality TV show like Survivor. They give them a chicken that lays eggs. What's the first thing people want to do? They want to kill the chicken.
Yeah.
You're like, do you not
No more eggs.
understand
No
what
more
happens if you? Yeah, it's like, but I'm not
That's
going
a
to feed
good
it here.
point.
If you feed this to the chicken, guess what? Every morning you're going to wake up
Have
and there's
eggs.
food. I'm like, do you understand this? How this works? And it's like, no, let's kill the chicken. Like, there's no help for you. I don't know
So
what to do.
true. And see, I think that's what's happened in a lot in the world of the paranormal too. But when that pendulum swings back and let's go. How far back does it go? When we came on this, I told you I was, had experiences as a child, and I was just trying to sort it out. Now, I could talk to my mom a little bit, but if something upset her, I didn't tend to bring stuff up because that was just something kids don't do, So I went out and saw it for myself, and probably about the age of 11 or 12, I found Hans Holzler, and I'm so grateful I did, because his approach was to go in and take in a medium, a trance medium, usually Ethel Myers or Sybil Leek, and didn't tell them anywhere they were going. None of the BS. Just let's go. We're going to go do something, and they go, and he talks to the ghost. He works them through her, and you can't stay here. You got to go. You got to go. It's kind of like the bartender thing. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he would try to sort out what was wrong with them and listen to them. And I highly recommend, if you want something good for Halloween, go find the book Ghosts I've Met and read the chapter on the Jamal Mansion here it's in New York. And no, I don't know any of the Jersey Shore people.
I don't.
I don't know any Snookies or the situation.
I do know.
And
None
while
of
you're
those
picking
people are
and
from
while you're
Jersey.
picking up books to read, there's another one you need to pick up.
Oh, there we go.
Show the book.
Yeah,
Show the
that
book,
whole
folks.
grandmother story is in there. The Singer sewing machine,
Yeah.
the flying head that came at me in the haunted farmhouse I lived in. That's a great story about that ghost. And I think he's really the one that put me on this trail, because even as a child, I felt so bad for him, this soldier. And I think that that's the reason I started searching. I always wanted to help him, and I got taken out of that house and couldn't. And of course, I was too young at the time. And of course, you go back to try, and now it's development and condos or something else. Oh, you want to knock on the doors and go, hey, have you seen any ghost soldiers in here?
All right.
But,
Time for your question there, Brian. How do we do it?
How do we do what?
Okay, well, that'll help you out. If somebody wants a signed copy, how do we get that?
Oh, I know how to get a signed copy. I haven't got one yet.
hook me up on Facebook. Facebook Cisco Murdoch, or you can come into my show, Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal Podcast. We are on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live on YouTube, and on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. And just come in there and send me a thing, or you can email me at journeythroughthegate@gmail.com.
Awesome.
And get you a copy, or you can get it on Amazon. It's available in Kindle and paperback.
Yep.
And
You can
that
order it right
story's-
now and be reading it as soon as we click off here. You can start reading it.
Read about the Snot Hag. That's a good one. And a couple of the other ones. All of my experiences aren't in there. I tried to use the ones that might help other people validate their experiences, and tried to do it with as much detail as possible.
It's a great book.
You got to set up for the volume series. I mean, you can't get it all the way in the first one. You have to be able to do volume 2.
Yep.
That'll probably happen.
And these are the ones where you can say, hey, that sounded like that, or that's what I saw, and help.
Yeah.
Because look, as a kid trying to search for answers, if there's some young person out there with abilities that they're trying to sort their way, perhaps in this case, they'll come through this way and start their journey in the light, rather than trying to cover it up with something or going down the wrong path to get answers, and before you know it, they're in a deep dark hole. So that's my number one thing is, you know, you're not crazy. You know, there really are ghosts.
Well, yeah, I was glad to have you on here, and so yeah, but definitely, Cisco, we need to have you back for another show. I mean,
I'm
definitely.
there for you. I'm there
and
for you.
we're going to give you a topic. So now, Bigfoot, is he a little upset that we always point out his deformity? With the Bigfoot.
They really deserve a lot more. In most native cultures, you'll find that the name that tribe or that nation gives them usually has something to do with either hairy man or the wild man or the people. In my culture, it was the people. It basically loosely translates to just another group, man.
Yeah,
we'll talk.
I want to try to
definitely
go down to Florida for a little bit too.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. Yeah, it comes down here to skunk ape country. Once again, why are we pointing out the fact that Bigfoot smells? I mean, come on.
Not all of them do.
That's but everybody, like I said, I'm gonna hold it upside down here. Let's
upside down, dude. That's a good idea.
Ert Radio. Everybody
It's
go to
been an
Mixlr.
absolute pleasure, gentlemen. It has.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
Thanks
very
for
much. It
having
was great. Great stories. I appreciate it. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Like
you
I said,
for
for everybody tuning in too.
Who gave us that thumbs up over my head? We need to figure out.
That was so cool. Figure out how to do that.
Yeah, that was weird. I
don't know who did that, but
you know where it's probably at? I bet you it's at if you look on YouTube chat, there's like this little row of like hearts and thumbs up and stuff like that. If they hit them, maybe it pops up. I don't know. It's a mystery.
Yeah, because I know
Uh-huh.
they've got the heart. Like I said,
You guys are so welcome.
clicked it.
Thank you for all my gatekeepers that came in tonight. Sling them some bacon this way. Show them how it's done. I love each and every one of you, and everybody that's here for my chat totally understands. Enjoy the journey. And also, they know to keep their feet under their covers and their closet door shut, because there are things that go bump in the night.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of them. Those are amazing stories. You see, now what did the camera do? I mean, we still heard you cough and sneeze. I mean,
I tried to get
no, that's why I said it's that
just
comment.
hitting buttons.
That's what I said. That comment where you said you're like the South Park, reverse, like
Gonna
where they
eject
say
in a
the
minute.
swear word and then they bleep it. Motherfucker.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's like the reverse censor. Yeah.
Thank you, dear Ted. I love you, baby.
Yes, I said thanks for bringing the crew over. It's nice meeting everybody.
Gatekeepers,
Wonderful
rock.
people. Smart,
Yeah.
smart. Wonderful people.
It's been
Absolutely.
great having you guys in the chat. And like I said, hopefully we'll see, time and like when I jump in.
Come back.
Hopefully,
and
like Sundays, I'll
watch me.
just jump over on your side and chat with everybody too. Because I like to do that as well. So
She said Monday.
We could
Sunday-
do one
Sunday and Monday,
Sunday and Monday.
8 p.m. Eastern time.
Happy days.
Because I got all the other
Days
jobs,
and
man. You know what I mean? I got all the other jobs. I'm doing.
I know.
That's me.
I'm busy. Yeah.
she's
Well, you gotta keep
bartending
more than
while
one
she's
eye-
floral arranging. She's in the process of doing one. Somebody's yelling for their beer, and she just sits there and chucks at their head.
Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you. I got some bartending stories too. We're gonna have to do a couple more shows. We'll do
This
one
is
on
my
Bigfoot,
favorite beer.
Types of. Yep. I'm a Boston lager girl. I
Ah,
found my
okay.
beer. I do not beer. I mean, I tasted so many lousy beers.
What
I
about
just
the
Yeah,
Everyone
I'm a big fan.
has a Oktoberfest. Most people.
I don't do fruit and berries in my beer, dude. No,
No, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of all the
like
weird type
black
beers.
coffee that tastes like coffee and beer that tastes like beer. I just,
yeah,
I'm an old broad, honey. I'm stuck in my ways.
yeah. It's no, I don't blame you there. I can't do black coffee. I don't know why. I've tried. Even in hunting, I sit there and I make it look like I'll sit there and I'll sip it. I'll pretend like I'm, like, the coffee. Then when they're not
gatekeepers are
looking, it's
slinging
right in the
money.
fire.
Thank you, Ted. We love you, sweetheart.
Yeah. After I take the sip, when they don't look, I just chuck it in the fire and like, you want some more? No, I'm good, man. 1 cup's my limit.
You guys got money. My people are slinging you money.
Oh.
Super chats.
Well, awesome. Well, hey, that's for you.
Thank
That's
you,
for
Ted.
you.
Love. We love you, baby.
Appreciate it.
Thank Thank you so much. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
You know,
that's to buy you a better beer.
yeah, that's right.
I'm a beer snob. Beer, cigar, cigarette. I got my.
What's your cigar?
I like a good square cut, and you can't get. I'm telling you, the Cuban, tasty.
What about
It's
Sweet
tasty.
Bottom Betty's?
I don't like the sweet. I like a strong tobacco, more like a Turkish. You know what I mean? Like the old. You know what I mean? It's got that edge to it.
The robust edge.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Now, what part of her story made you think she'd like a flavor?
No, the Sweet Bottom Betty is a good cigar. It's pretty
Well, I know, but I'm like, she likes black coffee, plain beer. It's like, at what point did you think a flavor would come into?
See, look, but if you want a flavor, to me, I go for the flavor, and flavors mess you up because, like, has anybody ever figured out this banana flavor? Why does banana flavored taffies taste more like a banana than a banana?
I know.
So
It's
it messes
really
with you. So when the beer says like cranberry with it, look, my brother is a wine snob and he had a wine cellar. Imagine. Takes me down to the wine cellar and he's giving me all these different here. Taste this, taste this. Then as I got it in my mouth, he says, that's $250 a glass. I spit it halfway across the room. I said, what the hell did you give it to me for?
Oh, shit.
Tastes like Robitussin, first of all. Second of all, you're wasting it because it's just, I'm not there for it with all this and all that stuff. I eat to eat,
No, it's like it's like you swirl it around and it's like they're trying to tell you it's like a hint of oak and this floral note.
Yeah.
You're like,
It's so pretentious.
It's too much work.
Pretentious crap.
Look,
One of
I
my
like my
buddies
hot
does it.
wings hot and my beer cold and my cigarettes and cigars strong.
It's got a note of cherry in it. Oh, it plays the piano. The fucking
Totally
cherries
crazy.
play the piano. Give me a break.
Y'all just
Totally
like
crazy.
Y'all just like weak beers. This is 8.2% alcohol. So I mean, I drink good beer.
8.2.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yep,
I mean,
that's-
again,
I'll do some German from Rosie.
I used to drink like a fish, honey. I was a bartender. I used to do shots of Bacardi 151 doubles and go to work.
oof.
In stilettos,
Ah.
holding a tray full of drinks.
You're making some
So-
money.
I've kind of like, I was. Big old rolls of it, honey. But now it's like just the basics.
You know the scene in
It's like-
Indiana Jones
I'm
when
tired.
the girl's having the shot contest up with the Mongolian guy?
That's,
Mhm.
Cisco was teaching them how to do that.
I played
Slow
an
down.
8-hour round of
Slow down.
poker with Airborne Rangers, and I guarantee you, I walked out. They go so fast. They're all trying to just slow and steady. Slow and steady.
yeah, Nick, that's one. That's I don't know how people drink that.
No.
Not as bad as Everclear. That's the bad.
Tequila and rum.
Yeah. And you can use moonshine to get sap off your car. If anybody didn't know.
Oh,
it, just
moonshine
tip.
is.
Yeah, I've got
Apple
over.
Take the paint off too, but
I've got 140 proof moonshine over there under the liquor cabinet.
have you ever had the apple pie moonshine coming out of Kentucky? Oh, now come on, get your little
makes me wanna
crushed
smack your mama.
little.
Or the
little-
toasted
just-
coconut out of Gatlinburg,
get your-
Tennessee.
I hadn't had that one. Little honey and brown sugar on the rip. I'm saying now. See, jaws watering a little bit, right? Yeah,
It's good.
I'm telling you, it's nice for fall. It's nice for fall.
Yep.
All right, everybody.
But come on over to my channel, guys, and
Yes.
you can join us, and we have a good time. We're doing the Cabin 22, which Brian had a little hand in it. Well, it wasn't your hand, but that's okay. We'll let them figure that out.
Had a bunch of
And,
things involved in it, but
we'll let them figure it out. But Cabin 22, we're doing a
Maybe.
live reading of that, and it's great.
So-
I wrote it, and I think it was spirit written, but it's another story. And
It is
you're welcome
awesome.
to come. 22nd, we're playing it live all the way through every night, 6 consecutive nights to ring in Halloween. It's got everything: Bigfoot,
Awesome.
Rougarous, everything, ghosts, you name it.
That's
Pleasure
awesome.
with you guys. Pleasure.
Yes,
with
well,
you guys
thanks
tonight.
again. Appreciate
It's
it.
been a
once again,
ball.
thanks for bringing the crew over. Like I said, it's been a pleasure getting to meet everybody. So
Sorry if I
glad
talked
they
too
had-
much. I tried to take a breath.
No, that's the thing. It's like when we bring guests on, it's just for that reason. People are like, I don't want to hijack. I'm like, no. I break you on to listen to your story. They,
Absolutely. But
They've
I
heard
gotta
us
run because I gotta be up at 5 o'clock. I gotta be
I'm
to
just
work
here
at
to look
6.
pretty.
Pleasure. Nice meeting you,
night.
honey. Bye-bye.
All right.
Very nice
All right.
meeting you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you,
Everybody,
gatekeepers,
have a good
for
night.
coming in. You know I love you. We'll have something on my channel tomorrow night to watch together in the live
Sure.
chat. See you then.
All right. So now, do you want to go out with lightning or abducted cows? What do you want to do?
It's raining.
Lightning.
Lightning. All right. Here we go. We're going to do this.
Baby.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week. Good night.